Hey there, I hope you're doing well. I'm Shauna, your counseling astrologer, and I thought it would be fun to do a lunar reading for you. So the question or the prompt for today is, how can you get your emotional needs met? Now I'm making this in preparation for the new moon in Cancer, so you can certainly use this reading as a new moon in Cancer reading, or it can be for any time that you want to know how to get your emotional needs met. When I was thinking about Cancerian energy, that just felt like a very appropriate question. And so today I'll be working with a tarot deck that's a bit new to me. That's also part of why I wanted to make this, to get to know this tarot deck a little bit better, and hopefully it's helpful to you as well. And I'm thinking that we'll pull in a little bit of astrology as well. There's a certain technique where when you ask a question, you can look at the chart for that moment and to incorporate that as well. So this is something that I do for myself all the time, but I haven't done it via a video, and we'll just see what happens. So we'll get into it. I'll see you at the cards. All right, here we are. So this is the deck that is new to me, that I'll be working with. So let's see. So I've already cleansed this, and so this deck is it is like a nature-based deck, highly botanical, like lots of flowers and leaves, but it's pretty simple in imagery. But I really like it, and I thought you might like it as well. So as I'm shuffling, I would like for you to find yourself in a place of calm where you can feel relaxed. Feel your body relax. Feel all of your muscles just soften. And start to focus on your breathing. We'll do one more. So the question is, how can you get your emotional needs met, especially within the next month or so? We'll cut the deck. It's kind of a sticky one there. And I'll do 1, 2, 3. All right. So I pulled the chart for the moment that I pulled the cards. And in case you're interested, I'll go into the astrology more in a moment. But we have 25 degrees Virgo and some change. All right, cool. So I'm just going to take these in and I'll show them to you more closely. I know it might be a little hard to see. So we have, oh, interesting, the 9 of Swords. So there's like some stress here, some worry. Then we have the King of Swords, mastery, especially intellectual mastery. And then we have the Chariot reversed. And so I just want you to notice, before I go into anything, if there is anything that strikes you in the imagery, anything that that you're focusing on more than something else. If maybe there's a word or a phrase that jumped into your head or an emotion, sometimes that can happen. I find sometimes, whether it's tarot or an astrology or another divination tool, when we, throw the cards or the stones or whatever it may be, there can be kind of like an inner knowing of what jumps out at us. So the way that I'm reading this is sort of like the current situation / what's going on right now, what's happening. This is kind of like the crux of the thing. This is advice, recommendations, and then this is kind of like where you're going, potential outcome. I emphasize the word potential because nothing is certain. So this is there we go. The Nine of Swords. So this card in traditional tarot systems, the Nine of Swords, is about worry. It's about like really thinking and worrying and stressing about something. It's like this is like the things that keep you up at night. The swords is about the mind, the intellect, the sharpness. And here there's kind of like a bottled upness. So maybe you're worried, like maybe that's why you're watching this video. Maybe you've been feeling stressed, or maybe there's something on your mind. It can be minor, it can be major. Whenever I see this card, a comfort is that usually the worry is more than is needed. So it's kind of like the problem is not that there is a problem. The problem is that you're very worried and anxious about it. And so we want to know, how do we get you to a place where you can feel able to manage this issue? And so that's where the advice comes in. So this is the King of Swords. I'm really drawn to the eye here. So the King of Swords is about mental mastery, coming from a place of keen intellect, and even like a sense of leadership too. And so this to me is like, okay, this card is really talking about how do you differentiate your emotions from your thoughts, from your fears, from what the practical reality is. I've been studying very much for a certain methodology in my counseling therapy program called Bowenian Family Systems Therapy. And in that kind of therapy, there's a term called differentiation, which is where you focus on your own feelings and problems, and you try to come from a place of focusing on your own stuff and not getting drawn into other people's problems, other people's emotions. And this card really reminds me of that phenomenon of differentiation, where you're like in your own stuff. You're worried about your problems, not everyone else's problems. You may have a keen eye for what's going on everywhere else, but this is like really about being in your own wisdom, in your own truth, and like not getting drawn into basically bullshit that doesn't matter. This also reminds me of like the symbolism behind the third eye, that inner knowing, being able to imagine. So this to me overall is about connecting to the intellect from a non-emotional place. And I know that may sound weird, but like coming from a place of like, okay, yes, I have my emotions, and my emotions are not going to overrun me. I can have a sense of discrimination. This is very good for Cancerian energy if you're watching this during the new moon in Cancer. And then the potential outcome, I really like this. So when I in this placement, when I see a card reversed, it usually just means that the energy is not certain yet. It's still kind of up in the air. It depends on, you know, what you do. So the Chariot is, and if we look at it right side up, I like this card. It's kind of like a shield almost. Really beautiful flowers. So the Chariot is about moving forward with determination, with willpower, taking action, but then having a plan in place, having a plan A, a plan B, backup plans, but like moving forward from a place of your own security and will and confidence. And so I think you get here, I think it feels like this is what you want. You want to move forward, but you're like really stressed or worried or kind of maybe feeling like hemmed in or blocked. And the way to get there is through this like keen sense of discrimination and figuring out how to like parse out what is intuition, what is fear, what do you want to do about it, how does that all work for you? Now, you may have a specific, like a more specific question too, like, so I want to address that a little bit in the astrology. Again, I pulled an astrology chart. So we're looking at Virgo rising, which means that Mercury is the planet that we're looking at in this case. Mercury is in the sign of Gemini in the 10th. So it's possible you're asking about career or public kind of arena kind of things. Mercury is at 3 degrees Gemini. And the moon is in the 6th in Aquarius with Saturn. So I feel like that sense of like maybe focused on a health issue or responsibility, like feeling that in this kind of energy. Let's see, what else do we got going on here? And the sun is there in Gemini too. So this to me, the horary chart, that's what we call it when we pull a chart for a question of the moment. Mercury is also going to make a sextile to Jupiter, and that's the most like upcoming aspect. So this to me is like there's an idea. Mercury is very much about the mind. So there's an idea that needs to expand. Jupiter, expansion. And so when I'm looking at the chart and I'm looking at these cards, I'm like thinking about getting out of that bottle, expanding the bottle or opening the top. That feels very Mercury, Jupiter to me. To get to here, to this place of where you can see what's going on. So how can you expand your awareness? How can you expand your options? And it, like, because this is swords, like swords and then a major arcana, this is very much about your mind. This is about the way that you think about things. It's not necessarily about changing your situation. It's more about how you're strategizing and your schema, so to speak, like your conception of the thing. Now that's not to say that, you know, we don't want to change our situation. Sometimes that is necessary. Sometimes there is a practical material thing that needs to happen. But in this case, it feels like working with your thoughts and especially where you have more power, that's going to do a lot for you. That's going to change a lot for you. All right. So I'm going to leave it there and I'll say goodbye on screen. I hope you enjoyed that. If you're interested in going deeper, I do offer astrology readings incorporating tarot. An astrology reading with me is 60 minutes via Zoom, and it is recorded for you to listen back later because it's a lot of information. We can go into anything that you want in the reading. Love, relationships, career, life purpose, health, family stuff. The time is yours to use any way that you want. And I use astrology to identify the symbolic patterns in your life. And this helps to process what's happening at an archetypal level, and it opens up new ways of dealing with difficult or painful circumstances in your life. I do work with individuals, couples, and even families. If you're interested, you can find out more information on my website, shawnamcgrath.com. Until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and wishing you health, happiness, and safety. Bye for now.